do you get into this journey, and what are the available source in the Maldives?
Yeah, thank you, Norman. I think, yeah, Danish told already that raising capital is a journey. So you have framed the question very well from my understanding, because actually a lot of times, like even Inaz didn't say it, but he has actually demonstrated how the journey would look like. Actually, it's always for any investor, any startup, it's always a journey. Why we are called it a journey? Because a journey will be an ongoing process. A journey will not be a destination. Of course, we arrive at a destination through a journey, but it's like Danish says, when somebody says no, it means no right now, maybe later. So as when you are going for asking for capital, you have to always bear in mind, when somebody is saying no, it means no right now. Maybe no with the stage of development of your business, or your business idea has developed up, he is not ready to invest yet. But maybe if you develop it a little bit more, he might be willing to invest. Maybe he is personally not ready, because like Danish said, we also have to bear in mind what kind of investor we are approaching to. Is he a bank, or is it a credit facility provider, or is it an angel investor? Is it a VC or a family office? Or is it a grants provider? For example, there are a lot of grants provider across the world to promote different kind of ideas in technology, environmental technology, green technology. So many things are there. So you have to bear in mind whom you are approaching, because each of these investors will have their own needs, because they will come from a place actually where their thinking will be processing of what they are looking at. Because a grants provider will not look at maybe the return on investment in financial terms. A grants provider might look at the returns on investment on social impact, for example. Whereas venture capitals are the big sharks. They try to get the maximum bite, and then if you are watching the Shark Tank, for example, those are the kinds of people who are actually you will see in venture capital funds. These people want a bigger chunk of your shares, and then they also want a higher return in a very short period of time. So this is the most actually challenging kind of investors if you really look at. But specifically speaking about Maldives, a lot of, I'm sure there might be a lot of new youth who are thinking of how to start up. And when, as a finance person, because it amuses me that people with very strong ideas, when we ask them, why you are not putting this idea out there? And why don't you ask somebody? Then he said, I cannot start it because there's no finance. And I always remind them of when we were at grade 8, we started studying economics and business studies or commerce. We started talking about different like elements, right? For example, of economics. One is like capital. For a business, you need capital, you need people, labor, you need space, for example, land or something. So from that also we know capital is actually only one component of your entire business. And today it has become such a secondary thing, because you have to have the idea, and it is very important actually why you to understand as an investor, as a startup founder, you to understand why you are doing what you are doing. Now, from Inaz speak, what Inaz spoke, we identified that At the beginning, he was trying to open a restaurant. And coming from hospitality background, I'm sure Inaz and I will agree there. And we have many questions asked by our guests or friends, visitors from abroad that can we go to a fine dining Maldivian restaurant in Mali, for example? There's none. And very few resorts also have actually. So for somebody who is actually passionate about trying our culture, our food, but he don't want to go to Abbakade or Moon Cafe or somewhere to experience, not that kind of environment, but who want a fine dining experience, sit with the friends and family and talk and dine and wine, this kind of experience, and with the silver service, we don't have it. So definitely there's a market gap, which Inaz identified. But the reason now he has redefined his why, which actually facilitated him to actually get the funding as well, is actually connecting it with our heritage and culture and telling our folklores and stories. So when you actually walk into Karod, you feel like you are going back to Borutokulfano time already with the designing and everything. Inaz, you have done a very good job. So actually the kind of so this is actually where your mindset, you have to have a mindset that you will get finance. If you have a great idea and you believe in your idea, you will get finance, like Dhanish has done, like many people have done. Like in the previous program, for example, Nattu spoke about Loti files, for example. They believed in their idea and they worked on their idea to refine their idea. They prepared pitching and everything. And also it is very important. One thing Danish told is having the right mentors for the right, actually, right mentors for the right area. Because all the mentors might not be very good at raising finance. They might be somebody might be very good at actually preparing the pitch. Somebody might be very good at marketing side or HR or some other area. But actually, even a finance person might not be very good at actually pitching for to raise capital at the beginning. So you need to get a mentor who has actually done it or who has mentored somebody to actually get the finance. So this is very important. Then looking at what is in Maldives right now, there are so many angel investors, not registered. I mean, nobody goes out and say, I don't go with a T-shirt, written on the back saying that I'm an angel investor. But if any one of you comes, for example, to me, and if I have some spare money, maybe 100,000, 50,000, I wouldn't mind if that idea is really good to try out with you, even if you don't know you, because I believe in actually. I always actually, when I'm mentoring or when I'm speaking about entrepreneurship, I always believe that entrepreneurship is one of the most noble causes to work for. Because I have seen personally how entrepreneurs from our island or from atolls have come to Mali and how their entire livelihood has changed, their family's life has changed, how they were able to educate kids and the kids studying up to PhD level. And these people coming and working for government and changing, the whole transformation of the nation was actually driven by founders and businessmen. Because I'm very lucky enough to work very closely with tourism founders. So I understand what kind of things they went through, actually. They never gave up. They went on actually even raising finance. For example, when they started, there isn't a single bank even, isn't it? They also went for angel investors at the beginning. So there are so many angel investors. You have to know whom to tap, whom to talk to, who might be interested, and keep on pitching and talking them again and again, presenting them your ideas, be open to share your ideas, because nobody is going to steal your ideas. Nobody actually will know. Everybody will know what you say, but what you don't know and what is back in your mind and what you are going to develop in the future, nobody would know, right? Only thing is you need to convince them. So we are lucky that the SPFC has now come in. So there's some potential of actually pitching at the beginning even or at the secondary stage. But I always tell, actually going for bank loans should be your least priority, because it's very risky actually. because none of the banks are going to give just like that. They are going to give money. You should have some kind of assets, and it has to be mortgage. So all these processes also involved, and you can lose everything what you have even through a bank loan if you are not able to refinance. So at the beginning, it is always wise and less risky to find a co-founder or an angel investor or somebody who will give you this money, or find a grant from somewhere, or one more thing is actually relying on your customers, getting them pay in advance to you. If you are doing a software, for example, and you want, for example, HR software, for example, or if you are doing the accounting software, for example, this software, if somebody is willing to buy it, for example, I know one of my cousins actually started a small startup, and he's doing softwares to manage guest houses. So his first funding actually came from advance payment from a guest house. So these are the ways actually you can structure your fundraising capital, and there are more things. I think we have limited time to talk about. So
okay. Surely. So basically, it's a never-ending process, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Dhanish,
yeah.
As a startup, what made you decide to go and invest in? I mean, how did you approach it in the initial capital?
The initial capital, I think it's I think one thing that we did right, I'll just share a little bit more background. Before I launched Fiber Media as well, I was spending as much as time as possible, even when I was studying for my degree, with startup founders. I was taking part in as many and Malaysia's startup scene was very new back then. I'm talking about 2011, 2012. We had a lot of networking events. We had physical but similar sessions to this. And I was spending all my time learning from as many founders as possible, which introduced me to back then a new concept called the lean startup. Now I think every regional or every global founder knows the concept and has read the books. And one thing that we really did well was I took the lean startup to heart. I wasn't someone that came from running a lot of businesses. I didn't have a lot of experience under my belt. But people who did have that experience told me that the lean startup was changing their lives. And I knew that I had to learn as much as possible about that as well. So the whole concept behind the lean startup was putting your customers first. Talking to customers even before you have a product, validating your ideas, even though you might not have your business up and ready yet. So funny story, me and my partner started Fiber Media back in 2015, but we didn't incorporate until we had no choice and investors wanted to put in money into a registered. We incorporated a sole proprietorship, and we had to turn it into in Malaysia, SDN Berhad, which is a private limited, I guess. And that's our official launching date. Where a year after our operations, a year after getting customers as a sole proprietorship. And the advantage that we got by focusing on customers is we learned so many things that we wouldn't have. And we realized we didn't need the funds that we thought we did. We were launching a technology business, but neither of me nor my co-founder knew how to code. But we used what we learned from the lean startup to start talking to customers, even though we didn't have a product, and understand, what are the most important things. When you launch a business, when you come up with an idea, your business needs to have 20 different features or 20 different services. And it has to do this, it has to do that, it has to be the best at this. But then when you actually talk to customers, you realize, they don't want any of that. They only want maybe one of the things that you thought they needed, or maybe they wanted something totally different. And I'll just give you a tiny example of how we saved income launching our mobile app. I launched the website that sold our services to both clients and our users.